Hello again, and welcome back to another one. And a few days ago, after I broke down Rolling Stone's inconsistent piece on Eminem, most people in the comments told me to take some time to check out a shocking article that manages to top that one. And I got comments like this: anyone wanting to read another funny article, go read Forbes article on music to be murdered by Side B. The funniest thing is the description of the writer being an expert on hip-hop. And another subscriber added, have you read the Forbes article? Jesus, the salt was unreal. And I did, and I was blown away. And I even briefly touched on it in the video about sales exceeding projections for the Side B, but we'll be diving into more detail in this video, as I found details that were flat out wrong in this, used to put down Eminem. And if you ever wanted to get a feel of what these major outlets think about Eminem, you've come to the right place. This article ticks all the boxes. As we dive in, if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and find me on social media at ETLifestyle_web. Those who follow me on Twitter remember when I posted this before Eminem's deluxe album dropped, where I stated, websites that never review hip-hop albums getting back to work when Eminem drops an album. And just as I predicted, here we are, so let's take this apart. So from the title, the writer claims Eminem has finally exhausted his surprise album gimmick and proceeds to make a baseless claim stating Eminem deserves a rest, or at least his listeners do. But let's put feelings to the side, focus on actual facts, indicators of the man like streams for instance. And when artist Spotify Wrapped were revealed, Eminem topped 4 billion streams in 2020 and was top 5 for US rappers in the world. So what exactly did the writer use to come to the conclusion that Eminem or his listeners deserve a rest? Oh, I know, it's called feelings, and you'll see there's more to uncover. Eminem has talked about having 3 personalities busting out of him, and in this article I can confirm at least 2 personalities at conflict, as there's conflicting points, and I quote, with music to be murdered by Side B, it looks like Eminem's winning streak will finally come to an end. And hold on, a few paragraphs later, the writer cancels out that claim stating, the good news for Eminem is that because Music to be Murdered By is billed as a deluxe edition and not a new studio album, it technically won't ruin his #1 debut streak. This quote invalidates the entire article. You can't make this up, talk about running in circles. And then the writer ignores industry trends to downplay the performance of the original release and continues. Still, it's a dismal first week haul compared to Music to be Murdered By 279,000 units, which itself was a substantial dip from Kamikaze 434,000. Now, for those who don't know, when you take a step back, Music to be Murdered By's original release remains the second biggest hip-hop opening of 2020, so if you argue that Eminem has somehow lost it because his numbers aren't as high as they used to, what does that say commercially about the rest of hip-hop, since his dip still remains the second biggest of the year? And the writer pretty much outs themselves in an attempt to explain Side B's quote-unquote lackluster performance, claiming early streams are abysmal, instead of comparing Eminem's deluxe to other hip-hop deluxe albums that released hundreds of days after the original. The writer compares Eminem's deluxe to Taylor Swift's new album, which is convenient since the facts in this case are cherry-picked for obvious reasons. And it gets even more interesting, we'll be getting to a flat-out wrong statement in a bit. After the writer acknowledges the changes in chart rules that affected Eminem's physical copies, since it will now only be counted when it is shipped, the writer adds, Eminem, who is a holdover from the CD era and who continued to dominate in physical sales, can no longer capitalize off album/merch bundles, which juiced the sales of his last 2 albums. And this right here is a flat-out lie. And let's take a step back to Billboard's report on the original release of Music to be Murdered By. Notice the writer claims Eminem juiced his last 2 album sales with album/merch bundles, but here's a quote from Billboard report. Of Music to be Murdered By's total starting sum of 279,000 units, 154,000 are in stream equivalent album units, 117,000 are in album sales, and 8,000 are in track equivalent album units. And in the same report, Billboard dropped this on Halsey's sales since they released the same week, and this is what juicing sales with album/merch bundles looks like, and I quote, Of Manic's debut unit sum of 239,000 units, album sales comprised 180,000, while stream equivalent album units total 56,000, and track equivalent album units account for 3,000. Manic's first week album sales number was mostly driven by sales generated by a concert ticket / album sale redemption offer with Halsey's upcoming US tour, as well as an array of merchandise / album bundles sold through her official web store. Remember, Mac Miller also dropped an album that week, so it continues. Of Circle's start of 164,000, 102 are streaming equivalent albums, 61,000 are album sales boosted by merch / album bundles sold through Miller's website, and a little over 1,000 are track equivalent album units. Billboard always specifies when an artist boosts sales with album / merch bundles, like when Taylor Swift had over a dozen physical / digital album bundles for Folklore. But nowhere did the report say Eminem album sales were driven by album / merch bundles, so that was in fact a flat-out wrong take in Forbes article. Remember when the writer stated that Eminem will finally lose his winning streak? That's cancelled out yet again with this. Of course, it's natural for a deluxe edition of an album to sell less than its original, as it is for an album released shortly after its predecessor. But there is still precedent for deluxe edition albums, particularly rap albums, performing similarly well to their original release. And this is another false take in the article, as it ignores number of days between the original release and deluxe release. And to give you some context, Lil Uzi's deluxe that is used as an example in the article, wait for it, released just 7 days after the original. In Eminem's case, there's a 336-day difference, so another point bites the dust. To end it, the writer claims, the most likely explanation for Music to be Murdered by Side B underwhelming performance is that casual listeners simply have no interest or desire for a new Eminem album. And once again, the writer forgets that they already stated that it's natural for sales to be less for a deluxe than the original, and it's funny because the writer also pointed out that physical copies aren't available this time around in the article, but still came to this conclusion. So you might ask yourself, why so salty about Eminem? And there's flashes that answer that in the article. It sounds personal and reeks of genre ignorance, and here's an example. It only took Eminem 40+ years to stop using slurs on his albums. Perhaps he'll stop using the R word by the time he reaches 60. Perhaps I'll have a go at Stephen King in my next video for all the horror novels he's reading. And I'll see you in the comment section. Thanks, and see you on the next one.